What?
Yes. In his wiki entry, there is a killed date and a destroyed date.
Oh.
One of those is dark and one of them is whimsical.
Hey there, welcome to the Tabletop Travel Guide, the podcast where we explore fictional worlds and civilizations right from the comfort of our own table. I'm Tyler, and I did a session last night that was chaos. They were back after a couple side quest sessions to dive back into the dungeon, and I don't know, everybody was very all over the place.
Oh, like so your players were all over the place.
Players were chaos.
Okay.
They ended up doing well, but it was just like, there's a lot happening at all times.
Okay.
I'm Sam, and my favorite thing from a campaign this week was actually that same campaign, but the session ahead that Tyler GM'd, because the one-off for it was we had to find my character's grandma's missing mithril waffle maker.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And so he ran around the town trying to figure out where this waffle maker went. And I thought it was hilarious. Some of the other people were like, do we have to talk to every person in the town, Tyler? And I was like, this is amazing.
Is a mithril waffle maker a statted item?
It is.
Oh my
It's from
God.
Treasure Vault.
No, it's from Grand Bazaar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a normal waffle maker, which is 1 gold. They have a low grade mithril waffle maker, which
Of course, there's low and high grade.
That one is 350, and then a high grade mithril waffle maker is 6,800 gold, and it is a level 16 item. And the only benefit is how non-stick it is.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta flex.
I loved it so much.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so
I was delighted.
Grandma made some good waffles.
That's awesome. Well, I'm Ryan. I did not play any Pathfinder or Starfinder this week, so I actually took some time and I bought the Traveler Humble Bundle,
Ooh.
and I taught myself Traveler, and none of my characters died in character creation, which is a thing that could happen, I guess.
Yes. I forgot that Humble Bundle was a thing.
Yes, so I picked him up, and I know something about Traveler now.
Nice. Don't worry, we're not pivoting yet.
No, we're not.
Still
Oh my God. There's a map for Traveler. We can't do a podcast on that. It's too big.
Fair.
Too big.
Is Traveler a tabletop game?
Yes, it is a sci-fi game.
Oh, okay.
But it's like you're a regular person. Like, of the 4 characters I made, only one of them had gun skills.
Oh.
And the other 3 were good at trading.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this week, guys, thank you for your wonderful adventures through the plains.
Yeah, it's excited to get back to Golarion.
Back to our home turf.
Back to our home turfs.
Back to the turf.
It's been over a month. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna bring it back down. We're gonna finish up Old Cheliax today.
I like it.
We're actually gonna do 2 in 1. So partially because I think the story kind of works for it, and partially because there's not a ton written for these 2 nations.
Yeah, I believe one of them is existing only in Pathfinder 2, so within the last
Yes.
10 years.
I mean, technically part of Pathfinder 1 is an adventure, but yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
So we will be talking about Ravounel and Isger.
Ooh, okay.
Ravounel and Isger. So yeah, there's not a ton about both of these nations, but I think we've stitched together some kind of nation or some kind of story. And my English teacher in high school will be very proud of me. I'm going to call this The Tale of Two Nations.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
And I didn't hate that book. Great Expectations I did not like, but this one wasn't too bad.
I enjoyed the story of A Tale of Two Cities, but I literally couldn't read it.
I don't think I had to read that.
It wasn't bad. I mean, like I said, I think Great Expectations is way worse. Welcome back to the Dickens podcast. Welcome back to the Dickens cast.
Is this the tabletop Dickens guide?
Yeah. This is the podcast where we explore all of Charles Dickens's.
Say that 5 times.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. We already had nuts last week. I'm not going to do that again.
Rude.
Yeah. So we have Ravounel and Isger, and both of them start our story way back, of course, with Taldor. We are the 4th Taldean Army of Exploration. We are exploring the countryside, oppressing the Chelids,
of course,
and doing all kinds of fun activities that you do when you're a Taldean.
I missed this.
It sounds so familiar.
History was so easy back then.
We're back.
Yes. So yeah, the Taldane armies, they go exploring. They just generally get a toehold in the place. And then they come to the 7th Army of Exploration. We've talked about this. That's the one where they really oppressed the Kelids.
That was the one where they like couldn't find anything better to do, so they just went back to their already existing territory. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fair.
So this is actually the formal creation of Isger. The Taldanite forces, they walk in, they kill all the Kelids or most of the Kelids, and then they go, yep, this is now officially Taldor.
Concerning.
We're going to call it Isger.
Kelids.
Yeah, the Kelids continue to have a bad run. I'm hoping as we go north, maybe the Kelids will have a better run of things. But in the south, they're not doing so great. And then, of course, our friend Aspects the Even-Tongued.
Yeah.
4081 AR, Even-Tongued Conquest. Cheliax officially becomes a thing. So we have Isger and we have Cheliax. And that's kind of where I think, our general meta-narrative kind of ended there at that point.
Okay.
For like the world as a whole. So early Isger, they didn't really have a choice to leave Taldor. So when Aspects the Even-Tongued does his thing, he kind of just like calls up the king of or the governor of Isger and is like, hi, either you're going to come with me or I'm going to invade you.
I think it's funny that Aspects, for some people, was like, hey, let's be friends. And other people, he's like, BT dubs.
Yep. So if you look at like Andran's like a separation of equals. He like wants them to come together and he wants to have a partnership. And hey, we can go out together. We can make this work. Isger and Galt, he's just like, you're coming. It's happening.
I just imagine, though, that because his name is the Even-Tongued, that even when he's telling you, like, hey, this is what's up, like, it's very chill.
Or it's one of those things where he is like smiling and telling you something and you're like, he's smiling and seems upbeat, but this feels like a threat.
I think I'm being intimidated right now.
I'm being intimidated.
The smile is very murdery.
Yeah. So I kind of equate this to like Big Brother Cheliax throwing his weight around, going into high school, and he's like, hey, little brother, you're coming with me. And little brother just doesn't really have a choice.
Okay. Fair.
And Isger is at this point now, it is you could call it a protectorate, you could call it a vassal state.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have their own independence. They are a wholly owned entity of Cheliax. And that's kind of like the bad side. On the flip side, we have early Ravounel.
Okay.
So early Ravounel also comes along in the Even-Tongued Conquest, not necessarily as equals. They're more kind of under the radar. They swing along. Early Cheliax, like we've talked, is kind of a good place to be, honestly.
Yeah.
It's better than falling to pieces Taldor. So the people of Ravounel are generally okay with this change of events. They still kind of are rabble-rousing because they're pretty far from the capital in general, but they kind of roll along with it, and they're treated well. They're not treated like little brother. They're treated like equal cousin, I guess, maybe.
So these are, at this point, provinces in the country of Cheliax. They're not like their separate thing, the vassal. They're
Correct.
Just...
These are states or provinces,
Okay.
yes. They're both separate, smaller subdivisions of Cheliax.
Okay. But at this point, they are in Cheliax proper.
Yes, they are. Well, yes. We'll say yes.
Okay.
So our big kind of break point then is going to be our Chelish Civil War 4606 AR.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod Aridin dies, Cheliax starts falling to pieces, and you have two very different responses. So on one hand, we'll talk about Isger. It's easy because Isger does nothing. Isger looks across the mountains and is like, wow, that sucks. Shame there's nothing we can do about it.
We'll just hang out.
Yes.
The best offense is turning off your porch lights and acting like no one's home.
Yeah, so I assume there are probably individuals who support one side or the other of the Civil War. I'm sure there's like fighting in Isger.
Yeah.
But in general, like there's nothing geopolitically that happens in Isger of any note. They just kind of hang out.
Fair.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Ravounel, on the other hand, declare their independence like almost immediately. They're like, hey, Civil War, I am out. And what happens is they become kind of a locus of power for the anti-Throne initiative or like the alliance. Not formally, especially as House Throne starts to win. People who get exiled, people who lose fights, they all kind of go north into Ravounel.
What What does a locus of power mean? I haven't heard that term, that
A
phrase.
locus of power, like a grouping of individuals or like a group of whatever. A locus is a focus.
Oh.
Yeah. You might have also heard like locus of control is like another common term with it.
I'm just thinking of like
the bug.
Like the bug. Yeah, no, like a locus is like a focal point. Yeah.
Okay.
So Ravounel kind of becomes this focal point of anti-Thrune resistance, and Abigail Thrune I wins the Civil War, and she's drafting up all of her legal documents, and she obviously hates that there is like this group of people who don't agree with her that are in Cheliax.
Understandable.
Hates it. So she does what every devil worshipping world leader would do, is she hires a lawyer.
Well, sure.
She hires a contract devil called I'm going to butcher this, a Fistophilus?
Fistophilus sounds right.
Fistophilus.
Yeah. Fistophilus.
I like that.
Hires a Fistophilus to draft some legal documents between her and Asmodeus. You know, the god.
The guy.
The guy.
Just,
I mean, we knew she was in deep, so
I just think it's funny. Get me in touch with that deity. Yeah. I don't care how you do it.
I want to go all the way to the 9th level of hell.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Go down.
All the way to the bottom.
Yeah. All the way to down to the bunker. We talked about the bunker. Down to the bunker.
The reverse penthouse.
The reverse penthouse. So this contract devil, I'm not going to say the name with the P again. Oxyide is his name.
Odizide?
Odizide?
Odizide.
Odizide. See, I just don't know how to pronounce things.
Odexity?
Odexity. Odexity sounds good.
Odexity.
There was no pronunciation for Odexity, so
There never is.
yeah, we're gonna go with Odexity. He finds every good lawyer. You know he's a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Because he finds a clerical error that Ravounel is not actually part of Cheliax.
Oh.
So he finds this clerical error that, hey, when they actually incorporated the area, it also technically wasn't part of Taldor. So when Cheliax technically leaves Taldor and brings along Ravounel, they technically didn't do that, but everyone just kind of went along with. It's very technical. Like the Chelish army's there, like everyone knows, but technically
legal loopholes.
Yes, 100%. So the capital of Ravounel, called Kintaro, he writes up this contract called the Kintargo Contract, which basically says, since Ravounel isn't part of Cheliax, King Abigail cannot appoint the governor of Ravounel. Instead, the governor will be appointed by an independent board of directors.
Oh, geez.
That Queen Abigail directly controls.
Uh-huh.
So he like obfuscates at one level.
Yeah.
Somehow that makes sense. Like now it's legally okay because the independent board of directors makes it okay. Sure, board of governors,
Sounds
not directors.
like Florida right now.
Yeah, it's like it's legal loopholes, right? He's literally a contract devil.
Yeah.
That's what he does. There's some other stuff in that contract that dictates some other stuff, but those are the parts that are relevant to our story. And it works, ?
Okay.
So Queen Abigail gets her way. She wins. The board of governors appoints a governor of Ravounel, and everything just kind of works out, and Ravenel's part of Cheliax. It's all kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah, I imagine that would be just kind of weird, because if they're kind of the like rebel state already,
yeah,
and then somebody's like, technically, legally, here's how it works, and everyone's like, foiled by legal documents.
Well, and that's the thing. No one knows about this. So like only the contract devil knows this. Like he did some real deep digging and figured this out.
Okay, so according to everybody in Ravounel, they're just like, oh, yep, we're stuck.
Correct. They're stuck. Queen Abigail dies, and she takes this secret with her literally to the grave. And it's not for a few more years that Cheliax's Ministry of Historical Accuracy are like digging through all the contracts and everything from Queen Abigail's reign, and they go, oh crap, we don't actually own Ravounel. So of course they do the thing that the Ministry of Historical Accuracy does, and they completely obfuscate and get rid of that part of history.
Of course.
Oh no, we don't have the deed.
The only logical solution.
Yes.
Somebody scrawl a deed on a napkin.
Yes. So multiple legal loopholes are discovered, or the legal loophole is discovered and written into a contract, and then we hide that contract, and then that contract is rediscovered, and then we hide that contract again.
Subsection D, Appendix A.
100%.
0.7 of 12.
Which is kind of, this whole part's kind of great,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just legal loopholes for days. But the end result of both of our early histories are Isger and Ravounel are both part of Cheliax.
Fair enough.
The Civil War happens. We're all still part of Cheliax.
Mm-hmm.
So then there I have, I guess I'll call them the formative conflicts of the, for Isger, barely independent, and then for Ravounel, their actual independence. Isger's formative conflict are the Goblin Blood Wars, which involve goblins.
Shocking.
And wars.
And wars.
Which is stunning.
And this is the war that like all the armies came together on.
Yes, we'll get to that part. So in 4697 AR, in the Chitterwood, which is a big wooded area in Isger,
I like it.
all the goblins and the hobgoblins feel like they're getting a bad lot in life. They're not getting out ahead.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? They're going to band together. And then they find some orc friends.
Ooh.
And those orc friends want to go a fighting too.
Is it the Belkzen orcs?
It is not the Belkzen orcs. Dang. We're a little far away from the
That's
Belkzen orcs,
fair.
but there's just orcs around. Oh,
Yeah.
The orcs are in the Five Kings Mountains, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So there's orcs all over the place. It's
Yeah.
not hard to find orcs. And they all kind of get together and go, what if we killed all the humans?
A perfect plan.
And turns out that plan is pretty effective because they like explode out of the Chitterwood and just start raiding everything.
Oh my gosh.
Oops.
And the best part of all of this is the central government of Isger, located in the city of Eldir, does absolutely nothing.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Yeah.
Isger is really good. Or they're just like, we're hanging out. We're gonna see how it plays out.
Let's watch and pray.
Yeah. This is literally like the I'm just here so I don't get fired routine. Like, yeah, they're just hanging out. So all across the rural being everything but the capital, people are being killed, settlements are being razed, towns destroyed, and the central government does nothing. Continuously and constantly does nothing. It gets so bad that Cheliax and Andoran and Druma all separately come together and they're like, yo, Isger, this is a problem for all of us now. Like, if your nation gets burned down, they're going to leave and come to our nations.
Oh my gosh.
Oy.
If you won't fix your crap, we will fix it for you.
Yes. Now, I don't want to make it sound like there's no military in Isger. It's just my take is wildly ineffectively led and allocated and implemented. So the Andoran Eagle Knights, the Chelish Hell Knights, and the Druman Blackjackets all come together. They fight this wondrously horrific and bloody battle, shoulder to shoulder, arms in arms. Apparently the Isger military is there, but there's like nothing written about them even in the battle. So I assume they either are like cannon fodder or like watch.
I just imagine if you have like the movie of this, you have the three other armies fighting in epic like Helm's Deep style battles, and then it keeps cutting away to all of the like all of the Isger armies just like picking their teeth and like
yeah, that's totally the vibe that I get from all of this. And our alliance of humanity, the thing that we never thought we would see of all these nations come together, they win. They beat the goblin hordes.
Take that, Gabos.
Yes, the green skins, the green hordes, they lose. So of course, well, if you're going to win this fight, what's your next play? You've won the battle. You've forced them back into the Chitterwood. Now what do?
Write a lot of sanctions.
Oh, that's a good
rules.
choice.
Take the keys away from Isger.
Or that.
Well, they definitely don't do that. Cheliax is like, yeah, you did fine, champ. The answer is they burn down the Chitterwood.
Oh.
The entire wood. They're just like, we can't take this risk anymore. Let's just burn the whole wood down. And it goes poorly. Like, they don't burn the whole woods down. And it turns out like fire isn't that fast of a mover. Like it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous, but like it's not fast enough to like completely obliterate hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of square miles of forest.
Yeah, well, I imagine it's probably not like a dry forest.
Correct. Yeah, it's not a drought. They just decide to like slowly go through and wipe the forest out. So all these goblin hordes just go underground. All the goblins and the hobgoblins just go into the Underdark. They go into the caves. They
the Darklands.
The Darklands, yes. Underdark is Forgotten Realms.
Yep.
Darklands. Yeah, they go underground, and they've been beaten badly. They're bloodied, but they haven't wiped out the orcs and the goblins and the hobgoblins. They're still there. So of course, Cheliax never lets a conflict or a crisis go to waste. They look at Isger and go, you know, we typically only use you for trade routes, but now you have a wonderful, exploitable resource. Orphans!
Oh,
no.
There's lots of orphans. So, of course, you send all of your Chelish Asmodean clerics to found orphanages in the holy name of Asmodeus.
Well, he's a philanthropist.
That's a business I didn't think we'd think of.
Yeah, so current day, there's actually large numbers of Asmodean followers in Isger, specifically because they were like taken into these church sanctuaries that are fully for the Prince of Darkness.
Ooh.
It's a good look.
I mean, on one hand, you're like, orphanages, taking care of kids, devil worshippers.
You just really wanted them to get picked up by, like, the orphanages of Desna or Saren Ray, someone happier.
Or
Maybe a little nicer.
Abadar. Bunch of little logic nerds. Like,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The nerd orphanage. I like that one.
Yeah, the most damning part of this is it's like an official state policy. Like, it's fully acknowledged. We're going to send a bunch of clerics in there to exploit the orphans.
Oh.
Good times.
Mm,
So Cheliax comes out ahead
perfect.
after the conflict. Isger's military, what little there was, is just completely and utterly devastated. There's like nothing left. So even though they stopped the main goblin invasions, there's literally no one to defend the countryside now. It's a bandit wasteland.
Ugh.
We talked about Druma, obviously.
Yeah.
The convoys from Cheliax to Druma are like defended by mercenaries, blackjackets, Hell Knights sometimes. Like it's defended convoys. If you stray from the convoy, you're going to get attacked by bandits, goblins, orcs, undead. There's lots of undead everywhere. Isger's just a bad place to be right now.
Doesn't seem great.
It's a mess.
So at the end of our formative conflict, Isger has barely changed, but for the worse.
Slightly declined.
Yes, slight decline. Whereas our other nation, Ravounel, we have the Glorious Reclamation and the Ravounel Liberation.
That sounds way cooler.
So it's not long after 4716, a group of Iomedean knights and paladins, they have a goal. We're going to liberate Westcrown, which was the old capital of Cheliax before the Civil War.
Okay, that's
So
right.
the capital got moved from Westcrown to Golarion. And they're like, you know, these devil worshippers are the worst. We're going to liberate the true Chelish people, just like our loyal god Iomade, and we're going to bring the Chelish people back to the light.
So is West Crown as the old capital, is that located in what is Ravounel?
No, it's Cheliax. It's southern Cheliax.
Oh, okay. So they're like, we are going to go from Ravounel.
Oh, no, they're not in Ravounel. Hilariously, they're in Isger.
Okay. Sure. Well, you know, okay.
So they find a small castle in Isger, and they like decide that that's their fortress, and they're a little enclave. And of course, the central Isger government's like, it's fine, we can't stop you. There's nothing we can do to prevent this.
You just take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So either way, we're in like a secondary location, and it's like, hey, we are going to go to this place.
Yes.
Not necessarily that we were knights and paladins in that place.
Yes, and I even have this written down here. So for those of you keeping score at home, Westcrown is also nowhere near Isger. It's very far away, but they set up in Isger, and that's the base. But one of the consequences of all this, besides Isger doing nothing, is Ravounel kind of starts to hear about this fledgling little revolt happening over in Cheliax, and they go, yes, maybe we'll also have a chance of independence. We're gonna do some little bit of rabble rousing.
Ooh.
Just cause a little bit of issues. Not a lot, a little bit. Well, the government of Cheliax does not like this. So our friend Abigail Thrune II goes, fine. I have this really weird cousin. I'm gonna send him to deal with Ravounel. His name is Barzillai Thrune. Distant cousin. Weird cousin.
One you don't bring to family gatherings.
Well, and he volunteered for this. Like, he randomly approached and was like, hi, I heard there's rabble rousing going on in Ravounel. Can I go be governor? And she's like, yeah, you're weird.
Please leave.
Get out of here.
Yes, at all the family dinners, they called him Bizarre Barzy.
Bizarre Barzy. Yes. So I'm not gonna This is a full adventure path. This is like the adventure path that is Ravounel's story. So I'm not going to do the whole thing beat by beat. I'm going to just focus on our friend Barzillai and talk about his wonderful goals in life. These are just the highlights. These are only a short list of his accomplishments. Step 1, he wants to be leader of Cheliax.
Of course.
So, of course, the logical way to do that is to become Cheliax. Like, he wants...
Symbolically?
No, he wants to become a sentient landmass of Cheliax. So he wants to literally become the dirt that is Cheliax, but still retain sentience.
That is a bold strategy, Cotton.
I don't know that would be my dream. Like, just no.
I'm not sure how much like good governing a sentient landmass can do.
It's called a genus loci.
Yeah.
It's a thing mechanically. Like, you could do this even as a player, technically, become a sentient landmass. It's written into Pathfinder. It's a very weird thing.
What if somebody like puts a shovel in you, like, and tries to shovel you out?
The details of what your powers aren't necessarily the most prescriptive, but his plan is to become Cheliax, and that's how he's going to lead Cheliax, by being Cheliax.
Okay.
So then he goes, okay, well, how am I going to do this? I'm going to go talk to Mephistopheles.
Perfect.
Our friend, the archdevil Mephistopheles. And he decides to make a bunch of extra sacrifices and some personal contracts with him. You know, you gotta have friends on your side. If you're gonna be a sentient landmass, you gotta find some friends. So then he goes, okay, I did it. I have some contracts. I'm gonna go and order the non-consensual vampirization of others.
The non-consensual what of others?
Vampirization.
Oh, vampirization. I heard vaporization, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
I mean, casting fireball would do that.
I'm here for the very consensual vaporization.
Look, whatever you're into, okay.
I'm now going to have a mage who is all about non-consensual vaporization with fireballs. Yeah, so he goes back to Ravounel and he turns a couple people into vampires without their choice.
Cool.
Which is a good move. Good flex.
This is just a weird strategy.
Yeah,
plan.
he enacts, and I don't want to go too deep, but it's quoted as 7 dark and whimsical laws on the people of Kintaro.
Okay, dark and whimsical is like my favorite descriptor. Like, we're gonna play some tricks. It's gonna be like a fairy tale, but like in the woods.
I imagine he was talking to his advisor and he's like, I propose the 7 dark laws. And they're like, that seems dark. He's like, I propose the 7 dark and whimsical. Better.
Is this like the scene from like the 15 commandments? And then he drops one, the 10 commandments.
Is that
History of the World? History of the World, yeah. Yeah, so 7 dark and whimsical laws. And then to round out his short list of accomplishments, he was killed 2 separate times.
What?
Yes. In his wiki entry, there is a killed to date and a destroyed date.
Oh.
One of those is dark and one of them is whimsical.
So whatever he was up to, he accomplished enough to require a second destruction.
Okay.
Good dude.
Perfect.
Good time.
Yeah.
Queen Abigail really picked it to send him out there. So all that happens.
Is Bizarre Barzy. So
Bizarre Barzy. So all this happens. The Hell's Rebels adventure path.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, the adventurers figure out the Kintaro contract from like way back. We started at the beginning of the podcast. They figure out that Ravounel is not technically part of Cheliax, and they get their independence from it. Nice. They legally get their independence. And they also blow up a mountain to prevent Cheliax from invading. Okay.
Finish off. Grand finale.
Right. You had me at blow up a mountain.
Yeah. So it's like, well, you know what? Legally, you know what, Dad? You can't tell me what to do anymore. Also, I'm blowing up your car, so you can't tell me otherwise. Which is a good strategy.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ravounel is independent.
Nice.
They have their own little nation, a couple cities up there, and they get to do what they want. And it goes great.
Nice.
So those are our formative conflicts.
Okay.
And we have one more round. So now modern day of our 2 nations.
Mm-hmm.
Isger is is stagnant and Ravounel is kind of growing, right? So from like a compliance and like a revolt perspective, Isger obviously is still compliant. They're still in it for Cheliax.
Yeah.
They kind of don't do anything about it. Ravounel is actually a nice trade partner with Cheliax. So they like trade by sea and they have an okay working relationship.
Okay.
Cheliax isn't actively like stacking an army on the border to go get them. Militarily, neither side can like go fight Cheliax. Like I said, Ravounel blocked the Menador Gap in the Menador Mountains. They blew it up. So they have a few years to like plan for that. Isger doesn't have an army and they're entirely dependent on mercenaries. So 0 out of 5 for both countries. I mean, they're both having a hard time militarily.
Yeah.
Economically, Isger exists to be exploited. A lot of their raw materials, like the easy ones, have already been exploited. So Isger like literally exists to be a trade route and orphans.
Like there's always orphans.
Trade route and orphans and sometimes good, powerful bandits to hire into mercenary factions.
Is that something you put on the like pamphlet of Isger, like
The
orphan
brochure.
export capital of the world?
I was thinking it would be on the license plate.
Oh, that's a great license plate on the back of your carriage. First in orphanages. Ravounel also is kind of like an export-focused country. They're exporting their natural resources, doing some trade. And then the last thing is they have a tourist hub in Vire. It's about the closest I could kind of equate it to like Golarion, Las Vegas.
Huh.
They all kind of like have rules about like you can't kill anybody here, but you're allowed to like if you get into a fight, you both get one good punch.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it's a very equal city.
Nice.
Equal punching.
Yeah. Politically, both nations have a head of state. The head of state of Isger is Steward Hedvind the Sixth. Gotta read my Roman numerals. The Sixth. He's a puppet. Everyone knows he's a puppet.
Oh.
It's even like openly talked about in the halls of power that he's a puppet, and they're probably going to remove him because he sucks at his job.
He's a bad puppet.
Bad puppet.
Yeah, and he gets called. The other funny part is he gets called to Agorian like monthly to go talk to Queen Abigail.
So he has to like make that travel.
He literally like goes in, gets chided by Queen Abigail for sucking, and then like walks back to Isger, looks around. Wow, my country sucks. Goes back to.
I mean, to be fair, what do they expect him to do?
Oh, nothing, right? He's a puppet.
Right. They set him up for failure.
Yes.
Terrible.
On the flip side, in Ravounel, we have Domina Gilia Balasinius.
Binillis?
Binillis.
That's a lot of eyes.
I know. Head of an organized confederate nation. So all the cities kind of got together, like the Roman city-states, and they all kind of said, this is our head of state. And it's not progressive, but representative government is a newer thing.
Okay. Nice.
On the topic of slavery, Isger openly trades slaves, and it's not a big deal. So they're a big fan of slave markets and putting people in chains and sending them over to Nidal or
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So I guess you can add that to the list of resources is slaves.
Slaves and orphans.
Sad.
Here we
license
go.
plate.
Really sad license plate.
Home of slaves and orphans.
Ravounel has banned slavery.
Nice.
They are not cool with that.
Fair.
Although sometimes the Order of the Chain will like get across the border and recoup slaves. Ravounel's not a fan, but also they don't really have a military to stop them. So when the Hell Knights come a knocking, it's like, okay, dude, well, you do your thing. I'm not going to help, but I can't stop you either. And then just in general, like the people of the nation, the Isgari in the countryside know that the central government sucks. They know that literally no one's there to help them. Undead roam the lands. It's a pretty depressing place to live. The one small star of hope in Isger is actually the hobgoblins.
Yay.
So the hobgoblins have learned from their like previous, oh gosh, everyone united to fight us. So they've now like started public outreach programs near their fortresses and like their bases of operations. So they go find settlements of humans and like, hi, your government sucks. If you would like to be with us, we are stronger and can protect you from other bandits in exchange for a small portion of your crops.
Oh, I support that. Good
Right.
for the
It's like
hobgoblins.
not a bad gig.
Yeah.
So it's like questionable even if the nation like might fall completely into a total shattering because like no one listens to the central government.
Yeah.
Good time.
Fair.
Citizens of Ravounel, they are considered inclusive and optimistic. They, as a whole, kind of acknowledge they're not quite as rich as they were under Cheliax, but they're okay with that. They think freedom is sweeter than like the monetary portion of being Chelish, and they're optimistic about their future and what they can do to help others.
Oh, I like them.
Yeah, so
Nice.
they're kind of fun place. So that's our tale of two nations, the two less written about nations in Old Cheliax.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
A happier ending than Nidal.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ryan. This was a good back and forth of two different countries and one that just seems sad.
Yeah, it's very much like two different paths, right? Like
Yeah.
you have the one path where they just kind of inertia their way to mediocrity, and the other one who constantly kind of keeps trying and
Yeah.
achieves something.
Nice. Cool. Well, we will take a quick break after this and then come back to talk campaigns and characters, which we haven't done for a while. So I'm
Yeah.
pumped.
Woo.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tyranny, cleric of Asmodeus in the First Temple of the Dark Prince in Isger. Will you answer the call to support the orphans in Isger? Each day, children are left to the chaos of the streets, without homes and guardians, and they are in desperate need of help. For just 5 gold a month, only 17 copper a day, you'll help rescue helpless orphans from the streets of Isger and provide food, shelter, and support. Join the ASPCO, the Asmodean Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Orphans, today. Mention this ad and receive a free welcome kit complete with a portrait of an orphan you will sponsor.
Hey, welcome back, and thank you to our sponsors, the ASPCO, for doing the good work of Asmodeus. And now we will jump back into a campaign. So, like always, I always take my inspiration from other places,
Sure.
other media. So I have been inspired for this campaign by a campaign we had ran that our friend Chad had run.
Yep.
We called it the Gang Campaign.
Yep.
Also, a video game called Dynasty Warriors
that
Empires.
Game is so good.
Yeah.
Is that the one that I really liked? Because it was
It
lots
is.
of button mashing and
Yeah.
I felt competent.
And it was
Oh,
the one where
Lubu is a terror.
Yeah. And then Harvest Moon. For the people who remember that game, it was a farming sim. If you've played Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon was what it was based on.
The OG.
Yeah, it was the OG. So, what this campaign is all the players, you're basically, the goal is you start in a small area and you're trying to expand your empire to take over a city.
Sure.
This is going to be set in Isger, and the players are going to be part of, I don't know, a noble house, maybe like a Chelish noble house who want to kind of like make a name for themselves, since it sounds like Isger is kind of a dump or like
Flaming dumpster fire.
dumpster fire, kind
It's
of a
not great.
yeah, kind of a mess.
You could say blank slate. You could
blank
be
slate.
nice.
Yeah, it's a blank slate. So
So many opportunities for cultivation.
yeah, so I think the players will be, noble house. They're like they want to grow in power, and a great place to do it is the chaos that is Isger.
Right.
This is going to be kind of more of a sandboxy game where they're trying to rise to power within a city. We're not going to go too like countrywide, but it might be like a smaller city has a lot of different players and no real leadership, and you're trying to like consolidate that force. So the way the players would want to do that, whether it's like intrigue, subterfuge, or like violence, is kind of left up to them. But either way, they'd have a time limit in how long they would have to take over this city. And I'd probably also have some form of like resource metric to determine how they're doing, like, with money, and then maybe, I don't know, businesses or I don't know. Haven't thought that through, but basically some determination to figure out how good they're doing.
Yes.
Whatever timeline I gave them, everything they do would be over the course of weeks or months. So they'd be able to do stuff. It might take a month to kind of
implement their
actions. So then that would denote the passage of time, and they would have a kind of final deadline that they're kind of working towards to make sure they are successful before that deadline hits.
Okay.
If you don't take over the city by this date, it blows up.
Right.
Oh gosh.
No, my Harvest Moon reference was you would get a farm and then you'd have like 10 years and they'd check up on you in 10 years and like, is this farm doing well? And if like if you didn't do anything with it, or like you had to meet some metrics, but if you like didn't do everything, they're like, you lost, you did a bad job.
Ouch.
But anyway, it would basically be like they wouldn't have enough time to make the city perfect and like all that, but they would be able to build it how they wanted it and kind of like hopefully come to power and kind of overtake.
An imperfect victory.
Yeah. So, simply enough, at the end of the time limit, we'd kind of see where they landed. The campaign would wrap up, and we'd kind of see where like their final scorecard of like resources and defenses and whatever.
S rank, A rank.
And then it would be at this point that I'd reveal the twist.
Ooh.
So
a twist.
I would reveal the twist that this would be a part 1 of a 2-part campaign.
Okay.
Ooh.
And part 2, the premise is you are a group of adventurers from Ravounel, and you want to make a name for yourselves as freedom fighters and rebels against the tyranny of Chelish rule.
Okay.
So recently, it's been known that there was a group of Chelish nobles who relatively quickly rose to power.
My gosh.
Uh-oh.
And built up kind of a strong empire in Isger. And your goal is to destabilize that city
Yes.
and take out the noble house before the entire country consolidates around this one noble house and they become a second Cheliax.
Oh, geez.
That's awesome. All your characters become the villains. Yes.
So the entire point of the second campaign is to basically destroy everything you built up in the first campaign.
That's so cool, though.
That is cool. Too bad you just told everybody now, Tyler, so you can't do it.
You could even like there's obviously the component of like you could metagame your own previous knowledge, but also whatever the GM like twists it, there's so much room for a GM there.
Yeah, and it would be, I think it'd be really interesting to be like, especially if you got really like attached to your characters at the beginning, because you're used to just being the main characters. So like it's weird to see, my old character retired and is actually now the antagonist now.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just think that'd be an interesting way to see how a group handles the fact that, see how good they are at tearing down everything they've worked hard for.
Okay. So then Sam.
Yeah.
Well,
Sam.
so I only made one character, Tyler.
I know. Yeah.
So, okay. I will tell you who I made, and I'll tell you my initial thoughts about where I think.
You can choose which one would this character be in.
Okay, so my character, his name is Gert. He is a goblin.
Gert the goblin.
And he is an investigator with a detective background.
Yes.
So he's a little PI gobbo, running around in the underworld, learning stuff, finding out crime, or maybe like finding people cheating on their husbands. I don't know.
Yeah, orphans. You can find orphans.
Yeah, Gert's chaotic neutral, so just doing whatever. So I don't think that Gert would probably like fall into a group that's like Chelish nobles. So Gert is probably more suited to the second part of the campaign.
That sounds right.
As a rebel adventurer. Like, I feel like he probably is maybe related to some of the goblins who were all murdered in Isger back however many years ago that was. So like probably isn't like too keen on like groups rising up to power in Isger that might threaten the current Gobbo survival.
Sure.
So.
Well, I feel like that kind of fits in too. Just, he's an investigator. He's kind of the ear to the ground in Isger to like, I could see him going around the city and like getting more information and doing all that.
And then figuring out that information and like burning stuff.
Yes.
Like being like, yes, I found the villain. I'm going to commit arson now.
I did find I have not built a goblin recently, if ever, I'm not sure, but I really loved some of the ancestry feats for goblins.
Oh, the goblins are so good.
Oh my gosh, I was like, this is delightful. I gave him one thing that's called Twitchy, so like it gives you a bonus to your AC, because basically the whole time you're just like, huh? What? There's something there. Constant vigilance.
I think my favorite for the goblin, which might be good for Gert, was there's a feat chain that's very sneaky.
Oh, I took very sneaky as well.
And then as you level up, you can become very, very sneaky. There's another feat down the road.
Yes, I took twitchy and very sneaky. I only built up to level 5, but I would have gotten to very, very had I kept going.
Very.
That's perfect. Yeah, so you're going to be in there sneaking around, finding the previous players. So if you had on the spot, if you're going to make another character.
For the other half of the campaign?
For the first half.
Evil Noble.
Ooh, I mean, that would be fun too. I did random roll Gert, so him I really worked in. But if I was actually building a character for the campaign, for the part 1, for the Chelish Noble, I feel like I would probably do some... I feel like I'd probably still do like a class that's like charisma based.
Yeah.
The face.
Yeah. I don't know. I might go bard for that. Like,
okay.
Evil bard. Or, well, I mean, I don't think I'm evil. I think that I am bettering this country and dragging it up from the crap that it's in, obviously.
Sure. You're putting out the dumpster fire.
Yes, with my bardic speeches something.
You were very charismatic, I feel like, in both of Chad's gang campaigns, too. Or at least in one of them. I'm
trying to remember what characters we played for those campaigns. Yes.
So, in the one...
She was the leader of our group in one of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was the one where I owned a brothel, right?
Yes.
And I used all the ladies of the night as my spies.
Yes. That was a good one.
Very pragmatic.
Yeah. That was a campaign where our friend Chad basically took all type of pop culture characters and made them gang leaders that we would fight.
One big rumble dome.
Yeah.
It was fun, though.
It was fun.
So I demand a scene where all of the players in round 2 like stand across from their characters from round 1.
Ooh.
They don't need to fight, but just like the anime of like the chasm opens somehow. Or, like there's a burning building in the middle and they like match eyes across the burning building.
Would be kind of amazing. I mean, you could see it coming from a mile away, but if you like did a part 2 or you just like did make it a completely unrelated, don't tell them that they're about to go fight their old characters.
Surprise.
Yes.
That's too many plot twists. I don't know.
See, that moment's so good though. Like you sit everyone down and you reveal that and then they're like,
yeah. Those are the reasons we play play Pathfinder.
To make all of our friends make big gasping faces.
Yes.
To constantly emotionally manipulate our friends.
Or that.
In a fun way.
In a fun way.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that worked out perfectly, and I'm excited to see Gert take down your other character's empire.
Yeah, he's gonna learn all of their secrets and investigate the crap out of them.
Nice.
Gert's going to reestablish the dumpster fire.
Nice. I love it. Cool. Well, thank you guys. This has been a great return to form. I was telling Ryan before this that I'm excited to just, make campaigns again and do all that and get back to Golarion.
Yeah.
As much as our tabletop lore guides are also a lot of fun.
It's like going on vacation.
Yeah.
It's fun, but then you like to get back home. And hang out with your normal stuff. So
you lay down in your normal bed and you're like, this is nice.
This is comfortable.
So as we wrap up Old Cheliax, the meta area of Old Cheliax, I believe next we're going to be traveling north to the Saga Lands.
But before we go, we do have to rate the travel today.
Yes.
So the real question is, are we rating Ravounel and Isger separately?
Would it
be together?
I think you need to give them separate ratings.
I think you need to separate. Okay, so Isger is on a scale of 1 to 5 orphans.
Obviously.
And Ravounel would be on a scale of 1 to 5...
Las Vegas's, freedoms, contracts, something related to the Kintaro
1 to 5
contract.
loopholes.
1 to 5 loopholes.
Okay, so let's start with Isger because it's probably going to be worse.
Yeah, I think this one's way easier.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's a place to visit. Yeah, I don't know. Their forest got burned down.
I was going to put it at a 2 or a 2 probably feels right.
A 2's aggressively mediocre. You're
it's not like a hellscape.
Yeah.
I think if you paid some black jackets to take you through, you could probably see some decent nature, but it would never be a fun vacation. It'd be I guess this is pretty.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sightseeing.
Yeah, that's true. I think 2 works. It's like you're not gonna die, but you're not gonna have a fun time.
That's true. That sounds
boring.
like a 2.
It's just boring.
Didn't die.
Didn't die. I went to Isger and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Ravounel, 1 to 5 loopholes.
Well, I did the episode, so someone else go first.
I feel like Ravounel would be like a 3.5 or a 4. Like it's on the
Okay.
upswing. Like I feel like I'm for the freedom vibe.
I feel like I imagine I'd probably go with a 4 because I feel like it seems like everybody's really optimistic there. I think it would have a good vibe, and I think Ravounel is also on the coast, so you'd have some good beach days.
That's kind of where I had it, somewhere in the 3.5 to 4 range, probably. So I think you either have 4.
Okay.
If we want to say 4, 2 of us said 4.
Yeah.
4 is good.
Cool. So you heard it here first. Isger has a rating of 2 orphans, and Ravounel has a rating of 4 loopholes. So that is our official tabletop travel guide recommendation.
Call your travel agents now.
Yeah.
Book now.
Perfect. So yeah, thanks again to all our listeners. We're hoping you're enjoying listening as much as we are enjoying doing this, and tell your friends about us and give us a rating. Give us a review. You can also reach out to us at our email, tabletoptravelguidepodcast@gmail.com. You can DM us on Instagram at tabletoptravelguide. We love hearing from you. The day after this episode drops, we'll be posting on Reddit. So if you see the post, throw a comment, throw a like. Anytime we hear from you guys, it's really cool.
Completely derail the thread for me to talk about Traveler in the Pathfinder subreddit. That could be fun.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, let Ryan talk about other TTRPGs and just
completely derail it.
Yeah. Again, and also check our website, tabletoptravelguide.com, for any pictures and character builds that we talk about here. But yeah, until next time, everybody, safe travels.
Bon voyage.